I want to show you something. I've had chickens off and on for at least 20 years, if not longer. And this is something I have never seen, because I've typically, even though I let them out, and they're out in the watermelon patch right now. Even though I let them out from time to time, and I just now started letting them out because the garden is no more, and I just wanted to get out there and scratch stuff up. I have always kept them in what's called a coop and run. Basically, you give them shelter, which is the coop, and you allow them to have a yard to run around with, which interestingly enough is called the run. It has always, after a month or two, especially during the summer, it has always turned into what Jack Spirko calls scorched earth, just bare earth. They scratch up all the seeds, they scratch up, obviously killed all the grass, most of the weeds. You might find a goat weed or something in there that they just don't eat or mess with, but typically it is bare earth. And that's just always been my experience until this year. This is an orchard that I have, and I have it pretty deep in wood chips, probably at least, they're packed down now, but when I first put them down and I did a video of it, it was probably 8 to 10 inches thick, maybe more than that. I'm going to get back to the chickens, but I need to give you a little preface here. I have a row of grapes here, and I have the watermelons there, and those are all in wood chips, planted in wood chips. So it's the back to Eden garden method. Some of you are familiar with that, some of you are not. But it's basically heavy mulch gardens, heavy mulch orchard also. And what I have found is that my land slopes this way. Having the wood chips here, and the water, what water, and I hadn't got much rain this summer, but any water that comes through bleeds through the wood chips and basically makes compost tea, because those chips have been laying there for a good while. And because of that, my chicken run, first of all, I have a lot of I think that's maize or milo, probably milo, coming up that they didn't eat, and it germinated. But my chicken run, I've never had to do this before. This would be my second time. Today would be my second time this year to mow my chicken run. You said, well, you must have a huge chicken run. Well, it's 14 feet across here from this fence to that fence, and I believe it's 130 feet long all the way up to the chicken pen and up by the house. 130 feet by 14. At one time I've had a few die off during the summer. A couple of them died in the summer, but I've had right now I have 19 chickens in here, and 19 chickens, at one time I had 24, 25, should absolutely have this down to bare earth. Now they are scratching, and I did dump some wood chips in here also, just because I had so many I didn't know what to do with them. But they are digging some holes to take their dirt baths and stuff. And in front of the chicken coop, as you can see, the side of the chicken coop needs mowing. The front of the chicken coop right there needs mowing. But right here is where they're taking their little dirt baths and such. My point is, I'm not irrigating this chicken pen. I do have some irrigation here on that fence for that bed on the other side of the fence, and occasionally it'll blow back, and I'm sure if I have a north wind, it's blowing back over here and it's getting a little moisture, but that stops right there. That I've got another 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 feet past that last little orange mister right there. So I've got another 70 feet of nothing, no water. So I'm not watering this. It's just, I don't know whether it's subterranean, whether it's surface. Again, very little surface water in the last 2 or 3 months. We got some a couple of weeks ago. But it stayed like this, pretty much like this, all summer long. The Milo's already, or whatever that is, maize, is starting to head out. And I've never seen a chicken run that needed mowing, and I thought you might want to see it. My surmise is, my deduction is that the runoff from the Back to Eden garden there is feeding this chicken run with some compost tea. It's also perhaps holding water in the ground here, and this is hard pan clay. When I get a rain, it just typically runs through down here down to my pond. So that's the only thing I can come up with. Having to mow your chicken run is, in my case, is because of the Back to Eden garden. So what I'm saying is, if you have a Back to Eden garden, or a heavily mulched garden, let's just call it that, heavily mulched garden, you might want to try to put a chicken pen. If you have a grade, put a chicken run downgrade of that. Now, if I had 20 chickens in a 20 by 20 area, yeah, I'm sure that'd have tore it up. And so, part of it is the size of the area, but still, 20-something chickens in here should have made this, should have really tore this up to be scorched earth. So you might want to try this. I'm going to get in here and mow it right now. And also, on this back side, on the back side of this is my thickest coastal Bermuda pasture that I have. On the back of the place, I've got coastal just about everywhere, but it's nowhere is it thicker than right here. I believe it's because this is the slope, and this pasture, this grass, is being fed by the Back to Eden chips, by the compost tea, or whatever you want to call it, coming through the wood chips. So I'm sold on using chips, not just for gardening, but also as a supplement to your chickens, supplement to their pasturing, I guess, for lack of a better word. And yes, I've got some bunch of fire ants down here too. But I'm also sold on using it sporadically in a pasture. If you've got a place that you're finding it difficult to grow pasture grass, you might want to check into that also. I heard tell of a man, don't know him, second or third, fifth hand, whatever, of a man that bought a piece of property that the grass was terrible. He wanted to run cows on it. He wanted a good pasture. Everybody told him he was crazy. It wasn't going to happen. And he had a bunch of wood chips delivered, and went in there with the front end loader, scattered them out, went in there with a hay rake, something like that one there probably, and scattered them out, just slung them like he's raking them. And they said in a year or two he had a great looking pasture. So I guess what I'm saying is, you might want to give it a try. If you have a Back to Eden garden, if you have a heavily mulched garden, then you may want to try putting a chicken pen downgrade, or something else where you really want the grass to grow. I need to mow this so bad. We just got a little rain, but we just came through a pretty long drought period where we just didn't have any rain. And this again, that's looking up my chicken pen. That grass is 18 inches, 2 feet high. Coastal Bermuda. Needs to be baled. I'm gonna mow it, and I'll show you that. Okay, well, I got it mowed for him, and that was some thick grass. And like I was saying a while ago, you can see the mister zone up there, and they're all misting that way. And this side is just not getting the moisture that you would think it's getting, looking at how thick that grass is. You may want to try spreading some wood chips in your chicken run, especially if you hadn't put chickens there yet, if it's a potential chicken run, and get them to start composting. And if you give them enough room, I believe they can have green grass year round. Boy, they have for me. I'm just tickled to death. And if the reason, the main reason my theory of why this grass is doing so well is because the Back to Eden thing over here is because of an interview Goat Hollow had with Paul Giacchi. And he says, I don't remember him mentioning it in the film, but he said he has a pasture, an 1.5 acre pasture, downgrade from his gardens. Downgrade. Got a pasture kind of like this one over here, downgrade from his gardens. He said a guy brought 50 sheep over there. They stayed 4 months and never ate the grass to the ground. I'll try to put a link below in the description box to the video that the podcast that Goat Hollow did. It's one of his radio podcasts. So you can hear him say it. A guy called in, was asking about sheep, and he told it twice. So listen to it all the way through. But because the first time it wasn't quite clear, and the guy didn't get it. But anyway, that's why I think that I'm having this effect. Is all this grass here in the chicken run is because of all the wood chips over here. And during the fall, fall, winter, spring, when I'm getting some good rains, it's either saturating the ground. I can't understand it, but man, I like it. That's all I gotta say. So you may want to try it. I know I probably talked too long, but I've never had to mow a chicken run, and this is my second time this year to mow that one. And the first time it was just as thick as that. So they hadn't touched it, and they're out in it all day long. I mean, I've got them out right now on this side of the fence, but when I bring corn out here at night and stuff, I throw it down in here, trying to get them to come in here and get some of this grass and everything. So I know they're down in here. I see them all during the day down in here, unless it's real hot and then they're under that tree. But so there's more to wood chips and more to that method of gardening than just orchards and gardening. It can extend to your chickens as well, and you may want to think about it for pasture land also, because that is a thick stand of coastal Bermuda, and I don't have any. I've got coastal all over my place, and this is the thickest stand. The land on the back of the place is much better land than this. This is iron ore clay, just half an inch down, and it's growing. So you may want to consider it for your pasture also. Scatter you some wood chips out if you can get them. I used to get a bunch, and I used a bunch. I'll show you that in another video. All right, we're gone.